PPP finally caves in to some of the opposition demands, but its incompetence and corrupt nature will hinder proper implementation. The opposition welcomes the return of free education to the University of Guyana. It must be recalled that it was Forbes Burnham PNC that, without oil money, instituted free education at the University of Guyana. Unfortunately, it was removed by the PPP regime in 1994, resulting in many who did not have the money being deprived of a university education. While we welcome the return of free education to the university, we are concerned that the PPP has not embraced our complete proposal to write off all student debts that accrued during the period when the PPP reintroduced the payment of tuition fees. We promise all Guyanese that the next PNCR PNU government will write off all student loans. The PPP has finally caved into the pressure the opposition has been putting on the government by demanding cash transfer to the people of Guyana. Unfortunately, it is too little, too late. And while we urge Guyanese to accept it, since it is their money, it will not positively impact the high cost of living. We, however, submit that this one-off and piecemeal approach, which will not reduce the cost of living and take people out of poverty, is not the best. There is need for a more comprehensive approach. In an obvious act of political desperation, President Ali unveiled yesterday a few social transfer measures, foremost among which is the one-off payment of $200,000 per household. Had he been gracious enough, he would have credited the opposition for calling on this government to make such a transfer since 2022. The only difference being that our call was for 300,000 Guyana dollars. At our press conference on 1st November, for example, we stated, and I quote, and as Guyanese families continue to struggle to make ends meet, we call on the government to ensure our people get more from the windfall of oil revenues. This windfall now amounts to over US $300 million. We call for this windfall to be fairly and justly distributed so that all households can benefit. For ease of reference, this amounts to Guyana 300,000 per household, unquote. We repeated this call in our press conference statement 4 times, the last time being on the 19th of July, 2024, when we called for the immediate distribution of the unexpected $300 million windfall in oil revenue earned in 2022 due to the Ukraine war. Had a coalition been in government in 2022, Guyanese would have received $300,000 per household in addition to monthly benefits. The president's announcements must be placed in the proper context. His very government fought tooth and nail a few months ago to resist the legitimate demands of teachers. Even more, he's on record twice this year stating that teachers, public servants, nurses, and other government employees must wait for better pay until 2030. What has occasioned the change of mind? Pressure from the opposition. On his part, VP Jackdaw repeated yesterday that pensioners can expect only $41,000 per month in the 2025 budget, less than $200 per day increase. Guyanese must never lose sight of the fact that all decisions of the PPP are politically calculated for domination, manipulation, and control, and are not guided by any moral principle or sense of duty to the people. The long-suffering Guyanese people deserve much more than what is offered by the government yesterday. However, they must see the cash transfer as their entitlement and not as money that belongs to the PPP. These transfers and much more could have been allocated to the people of Guyana years ago. Given that Budget 2024 included no such provision, these payouts must have been triggered by a panic at Freedom House that it is losing the support of more and more Guyanese daily. Nonetheless, the payouts are inadequate and will not divert from the meanness, corruption, and cronyism of the PPP regime. It is important to state here that the government must ensure that a cash transfer is done properly and fairly. Guyanese will recall that the 25,000 COVID-19 transfer were filled with discrimination and lack of accountability. Recall that many Guyanese still have their pink slip and have been unable to collect their cash grant. It is reported that PPP activists in Rose Hall demanded as much as $30,000 to place people's names on yesterday's cash grant payout under quarantine. It is important that what constitutes a household be properly defined so that it is not at the whims and fancies of PPP activists. In addition, the cash grant must not be distributed by PPP activists, but by non-partisan government workers. These transfers must not again be used to enrich PPP members, their families, and favorites.